Hi everyone, welcome to week 6 of social psychology, our discussion board. So this week we read about social equity and the exchange theory within relationships and helping others. So we had two journal articles, Social Heuristics and Social Roles, Intuition Favors Altruism for Women but Not for Men by Rand, Ruskell, Everett, Kapori, and Barcelo. We also read Why Seemingly Trivial Events Sometimes Evoke Strong Emotional Reactions, The Role of Social Exchange, Rule Violations by Leary, Deebles, Youngman, Sereno, and Ferdinand. We had two chapters in the Casanale, which were the attraction in close relationships and helping others. We also had a chapter in the theories of social psychology text on equity theory. So the 5 points of discussion that I'm going to talk about is the equity theory, the need to belong, close relationships, altruism or egoism, and the bystander effect. So the first journal article that I would like to discuss is Why Seemingly Trivial Events Sometimes Evoke Strong Emotional Reactions, the Role of Social Exchange Rule Violations. This study was conducted in 2015. They researched why people overreact to trivial things. There's often a moral outrage even when injustice has no impact on the final decision. They researched why people get angry, annoyed, enraged over mild, inconsiderate behaviors. Some of the explanations that they discovered were displaced aggression and cumulative stress. So, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. They also discussed the reactions that people felt as far as unfairness, disrespect, loss of self esteem, and rejection in feeling these violations. The study conducted had 179 participants describe events when someone made them upset or angry. These people answered questions, described the events, rated the other person's behaviors, and how that person made them feel. There's a strong emotional reaction to behavior, and it depends on a person's perception. Emotional reactions stem from those perceptions, the motivation, and the non-tolerance in punishing the perpetrator or making them angry. The second journal article that we read was Social Heuristics and Social Roles. Intuition favors altruism for women but not for men. This was conducted in 2006 by Rand, Ruskell, Everett, Capero, Barcelo, and Barcelo. So, what they discovered in a meta analysis in two different studies was that decisions to help others are both automatic and deliberate. So, sometimes they're just intuition, they just happen. Other times they are thought about. So, men and women both develop different types of intuitions, and there is no difference in cooperation in regards to gender. Intuitive responses are advantageous to social behaviors. Women tend to be more altruistic, but humans overall choose to help other people. Chapter 7 in the Shaddy text by Polk, Evaluating Fairness, Critical Assessment of Equity Theory. Equity theory is the evaluation of relationships. Equity does not mean equality. So there's discussion of over-benefited versus under-benefited. In an over-benefited situation, the outputs exceed the inputs. In under-benefited, the inputs exceed the outputs. So there are 4 central concepts in the equity theory, which are inputs, outcomes, rewards, and costs. Inputs are the investment, the time, the money, the secrets that are shared. The outcomes are what's received, the stress relief, the friendship, having someone's back. The rewards are the pleasurable and satisfying things that occur, like the support, the hugs, those kind of things. And the costs are what you put in. So it could be detrimental, it could be dissatisfying. It's what it takes. So the applications of the equity theory is that is consisted of 5 things as well. The first is awareness. That's your self-esteem, that's your assertiveness, that's just how you see things. The relational identity is the degree of awareness and importance placed in that relationship. They also found that the relationship types have an impact as well. Second marriages or relationships that are longer have more positive equity. The emotions can have an effect on equity. If the weather's pretty, if you're in a good mood, all of those things can affect social equity. And the last is gender. Women are more likely to be underbenefited, but those that rated their partners as equal were more satisfied. So chapter 9 in the social psychology text that we read is the need to belong. We care deeply about what other people think. There's a deep innate sense for us to belong. When we belong to a group or that group is closer, there's higher self-esteem and greater satisfaction. Another thing that the text discussed was that stress brings people together. If there's a catastrophe, if there's a natural disaster, if there's a problem, people come together to kind of evaluate themselves amongst others as feeling the same type of things. Demographics, attitudes, matching hypothesis, and eye sharing also have an impact on the need for belonging. Demographics are someone's age, their education, their religion, where they live, social economic status. Their attitudes are their opinions and issues, how they feel. Matching hypothesis states that people become involved with those that match them as far as attractiveness. And eye sharing is actually a very interesting phenomenon, which happens if two people share an emotion and make eye contact or any type of contact, it tends to connect them. Another part of needing to belong is loneliness. Loneliness does not discriminate. It can strike usually during transition times. The text also states that levels of loneliness have dropped from 1978, which is a very good thing. Loneliness is pulling away from other people. It's not from depression. However, being alone motivates people to connect to others. The next topic I'd like to discuss is close relationships, and this also was in chapter 9 of the Casanova book. So there's 2 types of relationships. There's the exchange relationship, which is the tit for tat, and the communal relationship, which is responding to other people's needs. So relationships are formed with 2 different types of attachment or not attachment. Secure tends to have a happier, healthier relationship, where avoidant attachment, those people tend to fear intimacy. It's more toxic. It's just not a good environment. The triangle theory of love was also discussed, involving 3 main components. Intimacy, which is the feeling of closeness. Passion, which triggers emotion, or triggers attraction. And commitment, just how long that relationship is going to last. So for the ideal lover, it's important that you have all 3 of those from the theory of love. For your best friend, you want intimacy and commitment. But for a sibling, you just really only need the commitment part of that theory. So altruism and egoism is concern for others versus selfish concern. So, reciprocal altruism is helping others regardless of cost. So, it's just jumping in, doing what you need to do without thinking. And direct receive is providing help when you have observed someone else help. Part of altruism is the idea of empathy. So, it's putting yourself in someone else's shoes, it's thinking about how they feel. It's having that sympathy, compassion, and tenderness towards someone else. When we help others, we feel good. We are happy. We have a sense of worth. We tend to bring our group in closer together. So, the last topic I want to talk about is bystander effects. So, it's how others influence our helping or non helping of others. There's pluralistic ignorance, which is where someone believes that what they're thinking is different than the group. The second thing that affects bystander effects is the diffusion of responsibility. It's being in a group and thinking others will intervene. Audience inhibition also has an effect on whether someone will help or not. That is the fear that you're going to make a bad decision. It's not going to be the right decision. And again, mood also plays a factor in whether someone will help or not. Good smells, sun, being happy will increase the potential that someone helps. And culture also has an impact on whether others help. We tend to help those that are in our group, those that live in our neighborhood, those that go to our school, that go to our church, rather than someone we do not know. So the two discussion questions I have are: this week we read about helping others, the automatic responses, conscious choices of choosing to help, challenges, and empathy. What does the Bible teach us about helping? Question number 2 is: Cass and Fiend and Marcus discuss how the heroines of movies are always beautiful, handsome, smart, and other positive attributes, while the antagonist is portrayed as ugly, dumb, or other negative attributes. Why do we apply more positive characteristics to the main characters and negative to the others? Are there any stories or movies that do not fit this standard? Thank you guys so much for watching.